Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for Season 9 of The Walking Dead. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at who will be in the border lineup from the comic book. So, first things first, if you are not a comic reader and if you don't want to know anything about comic material, then this is your official spoiler warning, because I will definitely talk about things that will spoil a lot of the kind of juicy stuff from the comics coming up in terms of the introduction of the new villains, the Whispers. So if you're not a comic reader, this is your final spoiler warning. And I will dive right into my prediction for this border lineup in 3, 2, 1. So I'm assuming at this point, if you are here, you most likely know about the Whispers and you know about the border lineup and the scene that's going to be coming up. But in case you are still interested in this video and you're not a comic reader, this is basically a scene directly from the comics where we have the villains, the Whispers, introduced, and in order to warn Rick and the other communities to stay away from territory the Whispers have set up, what the Whispers do is basically create a border, and they basically have a lineup, and this lineup is connected to multiple deaths that's going to be coming up. They decapitate the heads of certain individuals that they capture. They put their heads on spikes and they create their own border, their own lineup as a warning shot to have the group stay away from them. And I'm not going to dive into, what their lifestyle is and what they do and everything. Just know that they are very territorial. This is the very first, large-scale threat after the Saviors. And it's a bloody one. Like I said, in the comics, there's about a dozen decapitated heads on spikes. And in the show, I think they're going to go a similar route. So with that said, this is going to be my death predictions basically for the people that are going to be in the lineup, in the border lineup scene. So before I actually get into my predictions, I wanted to show this poster to you guys. I actually made this myself, Whispers into Screams. Of course, this is part of the story arc from the comics with the introduction of the Whispers. And what I've done in the back, if you can see, is actually mock up a scene from what the TV show might look like during this lineup scene. So we have a bunch of heads on spikes, and in this one you might not necessarily be able to see the faces, but in this one you definitely will. And I did some Photoshop and things like that to make it look like they're actually decapitated heads. So we have Rosita in the left, Jerry, Beatrice, Tara, Tammy, and Cindy. Of course, this is not my actual list. It's a subset of that list. Of course, I couldn't include everyone here, and I think it turned out pretty well. So with that said, I'm just gonna jump right into the actual list. What we need to understand is that this lineup needs to include one member, or at least one member, from each community. Because, of course, in the comics, this was a way to unite the groups, to work together, and to defeat this threat at times where there were differences between the different groups. And in a way, this moment where we have all of these heads and spikes from all of the different communities brought them together to fight off this group as one unit. So if they're gonna follow the same story from the comics and have the same theme, they have to have at least one character from each community. And that's exactly what I think they will do, and it's exactly what they should do. Now, starting from the left, we have two members from Hilltop. We have Tammy and we have Cal. Now for Tammy, of course, Tammy is one character that we saw introduced at the beginning of the season 9, episode 1. They had somewhat of a big storyline for her, which was intertwined with Gregory's storyline, and then of course we never saw her again. Now, why did they show that character to us and invest that much time on the character, fleshed out her character, and had a major actress to play that role? Why? Maybe because they wanted to be recognizable, so that when we see her head on a spike, it immediately connects and we immediately understand who it is, and the impact, the repercussions of this. You know, of course, there's the husband, Earl. There is maybe Maggie, if she's going to be in the picture anymore for the rest of the season. Or it could be Enid, it could be other people at Hilltop. So it has that connection. Then we have Cal, one of the guards. Now for Cal, it's more or less the same kind of thing that we discussed, but also Cal was recently shown in an episode. He didn't say too much. There wasn't any significance to him being in the scene, but he was there. Why did they have him there? Maybe to keep him fresh in our minds, so that we recognize him and know who it is, and again, what the repercussions of his death are in the community he's from, Hilltop. Of course, the repercussions are how much it impacts the other people at Hilltop, maybe Maggie, maybe Enid. So there's that aspect. So that's the Hilltop. Now, going from the Hilltop to the Sanctuary. Of course, the Sanctuary no longer exists, but I do think there is one character that they have that they are kind of utilizing quite a lot this season from the Saviors, and there's a reason, I think. So of course the Saviors are not at the Sanctuary, but they're spread out amongst the different communities. And this Savior right here, the third one to the left, I thought his name was Mark for some reason, but his name is actually DJ. Now, DJ has been around for a while. He's one of the main Saviors, and I think he was even there in the clearing for Season 6, Episode 16. I think he was there. I might be wrong, but I remember seeing someone that looked just like him. Now, if you kind of look at what his role is right now, he is traveling with Siddiq and Michonne to take Magna's group to the Hilltop. He's with them. And why is that? Could they not bring another character? Why do they have him in there? One, to again, make us recognize him when we see him later on, and also flesh out his character a little bit and, you know, make us connect to the character a little bit. And maybe they'll even have him talk about Negan and the Saviors a little bit. But other than that, I think because he is with them and they're going to the Hilltop, and it seems like the storyline that they have set up for Magna's group and everyone traveling to Hilltop, what's happening to Rosita and Eugene, and you know what's happening with Daryl, Carol, and Henry, and also Aaron and Jesus, it's all going to be connected. It's all going to be intertwined, and it's all going to lead up to the villains somehow, the Whispers. And I think because he is one of the only Saviors that is in this group of people that are very much connected to the Whispers that we're talking about, he's one of them. So I think there's a possibility that what they have planned is to have his head on a pike as well, in order to kind of have the Saviors in this mix as well. Then the next three characters are actually from Oceanside: Beatrice, Rachel, and Cindy. Now, there's a couple things that are interesting here. One, we haven't seen them after the time skip, and you know, they did have that big kind of story arc for the Oceanside in the first half, so they have done pretty much what they can do to those characters and to their storylines, so their time may be up. And to add to this, if you take a look at the last episode where we have Carol burning the Saviors, she mentioned the stuff you have is from people that I love and they are missing. And it seemed like it was Oceanside's belongings and they are missing. Why? Maybe because the Whispers took them. And I think it would make a lot of sense for them to reveal that those characters were who Carol was referring to, and that, you know, they are missing and their heads will end up being on a spike later on. Rachel, that's the one I'm kind of back and forth with. I don't know if they're gonna have her head on the spike as well, but it'll be impactful if they do, and I think it will definitely give us that holy shit moment. And just like Beatrice and Cindy, her storyline is pretty much complete as well, in my opinion. They've done what they can with her. If they're not gonna have her integrate into the other communities and join the other people and maybe connect with other people, that's basically what you can do with that character. So these three Oceanside members are also going to be in the lineup, I think. Next, we gotta include Magna's group, because Magna's group was just introduced. and they have no reason to want to stick around and fight the Whisperers with the group. And the only thing that would kind of propel them to that decision is if one of their group members is also in that lineup and ends up dying. And in terms of who it would be, I think for Magna, of course, she's the leader. She has a big storyline coming up, or somewhat of a big storyline from the comics coming up, so she's out of the picture. For Connie and Kelly, I think they have something planned for those characters, and they are unique enough of characters for them to want to keep around for a little bit longer. So not them as well. The only person that remains is Luke. I think what they're doing with Luke is actually making him be very relatable, even though he is somewhat of a unique and odd character, much like Eugene. But he does have some characteristics that makes him relatable, that makes us bond with him. And it's this exact bond that's going to be an impact, not only to Magna's group, but also to the audience. And also, he's a recognizable actor and character, both. So I think they might have chosen that actor to be a recognizable actor for a purpose, in order to have us know who he is when his head is on a spike. So that's another one. Next, we gotta include Kingdom. Kingdom, the only people that we can kind of think of from the Kingdom right now are Jerry, Ezekiel, Carol, Henry, and Nabila. Now, I have only selected Ezekiel for this right now. I think he will get his comic death, and they even foreshadowed it when he was talking to Henry, and Henry said, it's not like it's the last time we're going to talk to each other. So I think that was a kind of major and direct foreshadowing. So he's in there definitely, I think. For Carol, because of what they did with Rick, because Maggie left, because Carl died, and because there's been this many kind of A-list characters dying or going away, I don't think they're gonna kill Carol in this manner. She's gonna stick around for a little bit longer, I think. So Carol is safe, but if you think about it, the way it worked in the comics was that Ezekiel's death actually moved Michonne's story forward in the comics because they were connected. They were in a relationship. In the show, it works the same way. Ezekiel's death is going to impact Carol, and it's going to move her story forward. And in a way, if you think about it, in the comics, Michonne kind of left after this, and she reunited with her daughter at Commonwealth. So what they could do potentially, and I'm not saying they should, but potentially, is if they give that to Henry. So have it so that Ezekiel dies, it impacts Carol, and Carol kind of leaves or, goes out, much like what you have with Daryl in a way. So one thing that I want to put in brackets here is that Daryl's storyline in season 9 after Rick's death could be a remixed version of Michonne's storyline from the comics after Ezekiel's death. So that could also be another component to it. But I think that it could also work out, if they want to, with Carol and Ezekiel as well. So have Carol leave and be by herself after Ezekiel's death. Maybe you can have something where Henry disappears, but he's not in the lineup. We think he might be dead, just like the others, but think about it. What if, when we get to the Commonwealth storyline, and it's not going to be anytime soon, but when we get to it, how emotional would it be if Carol reunites with Henry? I mean, that would be pretty epic. In the comics, it worked with Michonne and her daughter, but in the show, I don't think they'll go the same way. I think they'll remix that a little bit. Now, for Jerry and Nabila, although I do think that one of them will end up being on the spike, I don't want to put both of them here. But it's going to be one of them. For sure, one of them. But it's just a matter of who do they want to go for. If they want to go for impact to the audience, Jerry is the one. If they want to go impact to a character and moving a character's story forward, it would be Nabila, and it would of course move Jerry's story forward. Then after, we have to move to Alexandria, of course. We have Tara. We don't know where she is. We don't know if she's at Hilltop or what's going on with her. But I feel like she's going to be in the lineup. I have mixed feelings. I think they might end up killing her a bit earlier. if she shows up, of course, in the next 2 episodes. But I think if they want to, and I think they should, is have her head on the spike as well. I think that'll fit the most. Next is Rosita. Of course, we do know there's something going on with Rosita in the next episode. She was knocked out maybe, but she was found by Aaron and Jesus based on the sneak peek. But I think she will definitely go missing again. I think that she will have her comic storyline. And I think the same way it worked in the comics, her death will move Eugene's story forward. Now for Eugene, he is missing as well, but because of the trailer, there's a scene where he's talking to Aaron and Jesus about, the walkers evolving. So I think that happens after the events of the next episode. And I think they also find Eugene. But I don't think that Rosita is going to be with them much longer. They might find her like we saw, but I think she's going to go missing once again. This is basically my lineup. We have Tammy, Cal, DJ, Beatrice, Rachel, Cindy, Luke, Ezekiel, Tara, and Rosita. Now, there could be more people, there could be some less people, but I think at this point, this list is the list that makes the most sense to me. But I definitely want to know everyone's opinions. Who do you think will be in the lineup? How many of these selections do you agree with? How many do you not agree with? And who do you think I missed? That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video. If you like what you see, press like, subscribe for more content, and press the bell button to receive notifications for daily uploads. Like and follow the Facebook page of this channel to join our community, and check out the upload schedule to learn more about daily uploads.